When did Dad's anti-Spanish rule become his worst nightmare? My dad was absolutely convinced that Spanish would ruin our family's future. I was forbidden from taking Spanish class even though we lived in El Paso. While my friends chatted with half the neighborhood, I stood there like an idiot, smiling and nodding. Dad had this rule that we only speak English in America. Anyone who tried talking Spanish to us got the same speech. This is America. We speak English here. He'd say it loud enough for everyone to hear. Even at the Mexican restaurant we went to every Friday, the poor waitress would greet us in Spanish and Dad would interrupt immediately. English, please. My kids don't need to learn that. Mom would look down at her menu, pretending not to notice the other tables staring. I begged him to let me take Spanish instead of French. Everyone takes Spanish here, Dad. I'm missing out on conversations with half my classmates, but he'd always launch into his lecture about how immigrants needed to assimilate. They came here. They should learn our language, not the other way around. He'd get this look in his eyes whenever he heard our neighbors speaking Spanish, probably talking about us. He'd mutter, "That's why they won't speak English." Our neighbor, Mrs. Ruiz, felt bad for me. She'd lived next door for 10 years and watched me grow up completely cut off from the community. During the summers when I'd help her with groceries, she started teaching me secretly, just little phrases at first. "Mija, every child here needs Spanish," she'd whisper while Dad mowed the lawn. "I'll teach you, but don't tell him." I practiced in my room with headphones on, watching Spanish YouTubers. I kept a notebook hidden under my mattress with vocabulary words. Mrs. Ruiz would quiz me while we worked in her garden. For months, I learned in secret, terrified Dad would find out. That Saturday at Six Flags changed everything. Dad had finally agreed to take us because his company gave him free tickets. My 4-year-old brother Colin was so excited he hadn't slept the night before. The park was packed with families for some Mexican Independence Day celebration. Dad kept complaining about all the Spanish music and decorations. "Can't even enjoy an American theme park anymore," he said loud enough for families to hear. Around noon, Dad realized his wallet was missing, his phone too. Some pickpocket got him in the crowd near the roller coaster. While he argued with security about their incompetence, I turned around and Colin was gone, just vanished. One second he was right behind me holding his dinosaur toy. The next second, only his toy remained on the ground. My stomach dropped. "Dad, Colin is gone." He spun around, scanning the crowd. "Colin! Colin!" His voice cracked with panic. Security called it in, but they were overwhelmed with the massive crowd. Thousands of people everywhere. Dad kept screaming Colin's name in English while families streamed past. Several Hispanic families tried to help, asking in Spanish if we had a photo, but Dad waved them off angrily. I heard 2 maintenance workers talking rapidly in Spanish on their radios. Something about a crying boy near the employee area. "Niño perdido, 4 años, cerca de los baños de empleados." A boy lost, 4 years old, near the employee bathroom. My heart jumped. That had to be Colin, but Dad was dragging us the opposite direction, still shouting in English. Another voice crackled through their radio. "El niño dice que alguien lo llevó y lo dejó aquí." I panicked. Colin wasn't just lost. Someone had taken him and left him there. I grabbed Dad's arm. "They found him. The maintenance workers. They're saying there's a lost boy by the employee bathrooms." Dad stared at me. "What? How do you know that?" "Dad, please. They said someone led him there and left him. We need to go now." His face went pale. Security couldn't understand the rapid Spanish on the radios. I ran to the maintenance workers. "El niño perdido. Es mi hermano. ¿Dónde está exactamente?" They responded immediately, giving me specific directions in Spanish. Behind the first aid station, through the employee entrance, near the back bathrooms. I translated frantically for security while Dad stood frozen. We ran through the employee areas, following their directions. There was Colin, sobbing in a corner, his little arms wrapped around his knees. A janitor was trying to comfort him in Spanish, but Colin didn't understand. I dropped down and hugged him tight. "Colin, you're okay. We found you." Dad grabbed him and held him like he'd never let go. The security supervisor reviewed the cameras later. An older man had led Colin away by the hand during the wallet chaos. The man had been watching us for 20 minutes, waiting for the right moment. He'd abandoned him in the employee area when he heard the alerts going out. If those workers hadn't reported him in Spanish when they did, the supervisor said, we might not have found him before that man came back. Dad sat there holding Colin, not saying a word.